Welcome to PLZ Soccer. I'm Peter Martin. We're having a look at the back page headlines in most of the sports papers in Scotland and England and reflecting on some of the weekend's football. And later on, Alan Ruff will join me and Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail to discuss the stories emerging today in greater detail on the soccer show at 4:30 if you are living in Britain watching this show. As far as this afternoon, all about the papers and what's happening in the tabloids in Scotland. It's certainly all about Rangers. In the Sun, Rangers defeated Hearts by 2-1, and when Daniel Candeias scored the winning goal for Rangers, he made a beeline for the trackside, hugging Andy Halliday and other substitutes and other members of the backroom team, showing a sign of unity. This off the back of the news coming out last week of Lee Wallace and Kenny Miller and the big bust-up. Well, it might have been a sign of unity towards the players that are there. It certainly wasn't a sign of unity towards Kenny Miller and Lee Wallace. The story still hasn't emerged yet what they said in that dressing room that prompted them to be jettisoned from the Rangers camp. We don't know why, and we're still waiting for that reason. But Rangers get back to business. They got a win against hapless Hearts, who were absolutely woeful. Craig Levein mentions in all the tabloids that he felt as if it was a great opportunity to take something from Ibrox. You need to actually threaten the Rangers goal and actually play a bit of football to threaten Rangers in their own backyard, and Hearts failed to do that. They were miserable. They got a consolation goal late on, but Rangers well worthy of their win. One of the things that was emerging from the game was, of course, silent protests, banners aplenty at Ibrox. No fight, no pride, nowhere to hide, incompetent on and off the pitch was one of the banners with "We deserve better." So clearly the Rangers fans venting their feelings about that performance last week in the Scottish Cup semi-final when they were thumped 4-0 by Celtic. So that dominates it. And of course, Neil Lennon and Hibs with their 2-1 victory over Celtic on the Saturday now means all that SPFL planning to try and avoid a title, well, I'm not going to call it a title decider between Celtic and Rangers. It's just basically a game where Celtic have the chance to win the title against their old rivals Rangers. They were trying to avoid it for weeks on end. In the end, it's now Celtic at home against Rangers next Sunday, 12 o'clock kickoff, and all that goes with that. If Celtic win it, the title's in the bag, although it could actually be won by Celtic depending on results elsewhere before we get to the Sunday. So we'll talk about that in greater detail on the programme at 4:30. But they're all talking about Rangers. Of course, Jason Cummings scored a goal. Will he do enough to get a permanent deal in the summer, or will be heading back to Nottingham Forest? So that's what the Sun has to offer. And of course, Bill Leckie, the journalist and pundit, is mentioned in there. All the SPFL working away in the background to try and avoid this Celtic Rangers showdown. Comes to nothing. We're going to have it after all. Dembele looks as if he could be cleared to play in that. Mr Dembele was at the Celtic Player of the Year Awards last night. Scott Brown had a triple of his own to celebrate. He got the Special Recognition Award, he got the Players Player of the Year Award and the Fans Player of the Year Award. 3 awards for him. Kieran Tierney once again for the 3rd successive year picked up Young Player, and he also picked up Goal of the Season. And the opponents for Celtic in the Scottish Cup final, Motherwell are hoping that Andy Rose has still got enough time to declare himself fit to make that Scottish Cup final. So, and also here, there's an interesting piece by Keith Jackson in the Daily Record. He has said Lennon is waiting in the wings, but anyone who says Celtic won't fight to keep Brendan Rodgers is pulling your legacy. Well, lots of speculation. Let's just say, for example, I don't think Brendan Rodgers will get the Arsenal job. That's just my take on it. But let's just say he does move on. I'm not so sure Neil Lennon will be the obvious choice. My personal opinion is if Brendan Rodgers were to move in the next year and Steve Clarke can continue to progress at Kilmarnock, I think Steve Clarke would be a better bet to be the next Celtic manager. Neil Lennon's had his turn. I think Celtic might look to a Steve Clarke, or even maybe someone high profile that Dermot Desmond decides is good enough to take Celtic on to another level. So that's my take on that. That's the Scottish perspective on it. Of course, Aberdeen defeated Kilmarnock. It's Aberdeen, Hibs and Rangers all in this battle to try and finish second. As far as the Guardian's concerned, well, they're focusing on that news from last night. I don't think it's any great surprise. Mo Salah is the PFA Player of the Year, and who can deny him that? He's now equalled the goal scoring record in the Premier League, 31 goals. It's been a fantastic season for the Egyptian. He's absolutely magnificent as a player to watch, and of course he's won the PFA Player of the Year, and Leroy Sané won the Young Player at the awards ceremony last night. Over the weekend, all the talk's been about Arsene Wenger. They got that 4-1 win late on against West Ham, and I think the general feeling here from pundits and former managers and players alike is Arsene Wenger really has been revolutionary for the Premier League. But when you talk to the majority of the Arsenal fans, I think they're at that point where they're obviously trying to show their respects towards him, but they're happy he's going because they feel as if he's overstayed his welcome. There will be some who feel as if he's been harshly treated. How do you vent your displeasure at the way Arsenal are being run? Certainly from a boardroom level, I think they'll be happy that Arsene Wenger over the years has managed to get a brilliant stadium built, and over and above that, I think it's been paid off in double quick time. And let's not forget, for about 16, 17 consecutive seasons, Arsenal have qualified for the Champions League. They haven't won a title in a long, long time, but as far as the money men are concerned and the shareholders, they'll be delighted what Arsenal has done for them over the last decade, maybe even more, without that major Premier League trophy. So there's conflicting views here on this. The journalists are paying their respects to what Arsenal has done as a revolutionary, but I think the fans slightly muted in their emotions because they're now thinking, who can replace Arsene Wenger? Who's going to be the next manager? So we've talked about Salah, we've talked about Wenger. At the bottom end of it, it's still a battle to avoid relegation, and that's hotting up. I think it was a sore one for Stoke and Paul Lambert at the weekend with that 1-1 draw with Burnley. It's looking grim to try and escape the drop now. They're all battling away, knowing that they're going to lose the riches of the Premier League in England. So there's that. There's the small matter of the FA Cup semi-finals as well that have occupied most of the papers. Chelsea will meet Manchester United. Alexis Sanchez come up trumps in the semi-final against Tottenham, and in the end Tottenham's woeful record in semi-finals continues. It's United and Jose Mourinho that will be taking their place in the final. And again, you know, you talk about the displeasure over Arsene Wenger. Jose Mourinho is winning trophies for Manchester United, and the United fans are still not happy. So we'll discuss that later on in the programme. And Chelsea, Antonio Conte might be saying farewell in the summer to Chelsea, but he's got the opportunity to say farewell with an FA Cup. Will Arsene Wenger get the chance to say farewell to the Gunners fans with a Europa League trophy and Champions League qualification again? I would love it if that happened. You can give us your view at PLZ Soccer on Twitter, facebook.com/PLZ Soccer. And if you want to get constant up-to-date news north and south of the border, all you have to do is download the app, PLZ Soccer app in Google Play and in the App Store, and you'll get all the latest news, unique video content. And if you want to contribute, you can press video recorder, record your own video, send it in to us, and if you feature on the show, we will send you a cracking print of your favourite player. All you need to do is post a message with your favourite player, and if you feature, we'll send you a cracking print as well as a thank you for giving us your video message. Download the PLZ Soccer app and stay with us, because later on today on PLZ Soccer on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, we'll have the Soccer Show with Hugh McDonald and Alan Ruff.